So you've probably come across YouTube videos or internet articles or maybe even books that claim you can lose 10 pounds in 10 days. Typically, those claims it averages to be about a pound a day. You might see 5 pounds in 5 days, 7 pounds in 7 days, or whatever. And of course, I've seen some drastic ones. Saw one the other day that said 10 pounds in 3 days. Hopefully, most people would realize that's theoretically impossible, mathematically impossible to uh, lose 10 pounds, especially 10 pounds of fat, in 3 days. But is it possible to lose a pound uh, per day? Okay, and is it fact or fiction? So let's take a look at a couple of concepts. So what I've noticed amongst the various methods I've come across, the four common approaches to diet are either low carb diet, a juice diet, fasting, or a zero fat diet. And of course, low fat diets have been around for decades. And then they all typically have a component of exercise, some more than others. And they don't always say you need to do this specific exercise. It's mostly what they recommend is that you try to set a goal to burn this many additional calories with exercise per day or whatever the case is. But by and large, the major differences I've seen are the approaches through diet on how to lose a pound a day, basically. So let's look at the science. Well, and this is some of these statistics are debatable, but let's just say on average, each pound of fat contains an estimated 3,500 calories of heat energy. Heat energy is just that's what a calorie is, right? That's what the body uses to sustain life. And you're always burning calories, whether you're sleeping or sitting on the couch watching TV or running down the street, you are always burning calories. The only thing that changes is the rate at which you burn those calories, right? The body typically prefers to burn glycogen stores before it will start burning fat. And so what it will do once maybe the consumed calories is not sufficient to sustain life, or whatever the case is, your body will then go to the liver and the muscles and other areas of the body to burn those glycogen stores for that immediate glucose boost, right? And only at a point to where the body thinks, okay, maybe we don't have enough glycogen to keep us going, then that's when it starts to go to the fat stores and burns the fat for energy. And what it actually turns the fat into is something called ketones. You may have come across that term in various instances, but if you're burning carbohydrates or burning glycogen, it's turning it into glucose for your body to burn. If you're burning primarily fat, it's turning the fat into ketones. So that's what your body will burn when you're in a fat burning mode. Okay. So again, this is debatable, but let's say the average human burns 2,000 to 2,700 calories per day. Of course, this is going to vary. It's going to vary by sex, so whether you're male or female. It's going to vary by the level of activity. Obviously, someone who sits in a recliner all day is going to burn less calories than someone who does 2 hours of CrossFit. Okay, so this varies, but let's just say on average the range is 2,000 to 2,700 calories per day. To give it some perspective as to how much benefit could exercise possibly contribute to the overall equation, running a marathon will burn about 2,500 calories. Now, I have heard of people that have run 10 marathons in 10 days and maybe even more, but let's be realistic. The average person's not going to do that. They're probably not going to run any marathons in 10 days, but I wanted to give you some perspective on how much to the extreme exercise could possibly contribute to losing 10 pounds in 10 days. So here's a grid where I've come up with some assumptions that you can kind of see what would be required to burn an average of 1 pound of fat per day. Okay, So the first column you have the days, so 1 through 10. The second column, in this particular instance, I've made the assumption they're on a quote-unquote low-calorie diet. I think most people would say 1,500 calories is somewhat of a low-calorie diet. Some might say lower than that, but let's just say 1,500 calories consumed on average for those 10 days, okay? Which gives a total of 15,000 calories consumed for 10 days. Now let's say they burn 2,500 calories, which might be generous for some and maybe not for others, depending on their level of activity, etc. But let's just say on average they burn 2,500 calories per day. That's a total of 25,000 calories burned in 10 days. The deficit, so the difference between the outtake of calories, right, the calories burned, versus the intake, so the calories consumed, in this instance is 1,000 calories per day, which equates to 10,000 calories of deficit over the course of 10 days. But recall, each pound of fat has 3,500 calories of heat energy. So if you only have a deficit of 1,000 calories, there's really no way to physically burn a pound of fat in that day. Okay? So to sum this up, if you had a 10,000 calorie deficit over the course of 10 days, by using the 3,500 calorie model, that would equate to about 3 pounds of fat burned in 10 days. It's 2.86 to be precise, but let's just say 3 pounds. But you want to lose 10 pounds. So we're not there yet. It's not looking good, but let's see. Let's take it to an extreme. Okay? So in this particular instance, nothing's changed in these columns here, but now we're going to make the assumption that someone fasts for 10 days. They don't eat anything. No calories consumed whatsoever. But they still burn 2,500 calories. Now let me just say that this is very generous, and I say that because although you could certainly burn 2,500 calories the first 3, 4, maybe 5 days, eventually your body will slow its metabolism down. If you're not getting any calories, your body is going to go into its feast or famine mode, in this case famine, and it's going to reduce the metabolism. Okay, so by day 5, day 6, I would argue that you're not going to burn 2,500 calories. It's going to be less than that. And of course, you could say, well, make it up with exercise. Well, still, if you're not consuming any calories whatsoever, your body's going to most likely slow its metabolism down, which is going to make you lethargic and certainly not going to give you the energy to do vigorous exercise for 10 days in a row. Okay, I'm sure people have done it, but is that realistic for the average person? I say no, but that's okay. This is the extreme, right? So if this holds true, if you can do this, that gives a deficit per day of 2,500 calories. That's a total deficit of 25,000 calories, but that's still not 35,000. So this deficit of 25,000 equates to about 7 pounds of fat in 10 days. And that's even with this very drastic approach, okay? Still not looking too good. So, is it possible to lose 10 pounds in 10 days? Well, maybe yes, actually. Okay, if someone says you can do that, they might be right. But most of the weight you will lose is going to be water. It's going to be liquid, okay? And that's because cutting calories, especially carbohydrates, will make you lose water weight. And that is because each gram of carbohydrate you consume, your body needs to hold on to 3 grams of water. So it's a 1-to-3 ratio. Now, the Food and Drug Administration and the Food Pyramid recommends roughly, on average, a person should consume about 300 grams of carbohydrates per day. And using the 1-to-3 model, so that would be 900 grams of water retained from that 300 grams of carbs consumed, that equates to 0.66 pounds of water retention. Okay? So, in conclusion, you can lose 10 pounds and maybe more of weight in 10 days. The key word is weight. The scale will reflect 10 pounds or more, maybe a little less, but it's possible. But most of it will be water weight, and it can be regained easily, especially if you go back to eating a lot of carbohydrates and even just drinking a lot of water. Your body's still going to replenish itself as you drink water as well. So, but your pants and your clothes will fit better regardless. You will look thinner because you have dropped the weight. Now, the best methods to actually make this happen, we've kind of established that losing 10 pounds of fat is virtually impossible, but you can lose 10 pounds of weight, okay, on the scale. What's the best method to actually do that? Well, and going back to the whole carbohydrate and water retention formula, the best way to do it is a low carb diet. And how many grams of carbs that equates to low carb is of course debatable, but if you want to go to the extreme, I would say 30 or 40 grams or less per day. In most circles, it's considered low carb. Okay. The other way, and kind of going back to one of the extremes that we saw, is fasting. So by fasting, you're obviously not having and consuming any carbohydrates, right? So that's going to take care of the water weight. Because you're not consuming carbohydrates, your body's going to start to use those glycogen stores much quicker. Probably by day 2, day 3, you're going to be in full fat burning mode because you've burned virtually all the glycogen in your body, and so your body has no choice but to burn fat, and virtually only fat, for sustaining life. Okay, and so by day 2, 3, and of course this is debatable as well, but let's just say day 3, you're pretty much burning fat only. And so if you're burning on average 2,500 calories a day, you're burning about, let's say, 3/4 of a pound per day of fat, which is certainly not a bad thing. Still not 10 pounds in 10 days of fat, but you will burn a considerable amount of fat. So that's true. But with any of these, I mean, be reasonable. If you have something you have to do in 10 days and you need to drop some weight, okay, but be reasonable. You may not lose 10 pounds. You're not going to lose 10 pounds of fat. Most of it's going to be water weight. Yes, you'll be thin on day 10, and maybe you'll be able to fit into that dress or that suit, or you might look a little bit better in your bathing suit, but you're going to gain that back when you start to eat, especially if you eat more carbohydrates or whatever the case is. What I would recommend is you not focus so much on these drastic weight loss ideas in short periods of time. It's to look more at a holistic way of life. Find a diet that fits you. I personally had tremendous luck with low carb diets, intermittent fasting, and if you want to learn more about intermittent fasting, I'll put a link. I have a video on that concept as well. But be reasonable. You're not going to lose 10 pounds of fat in 10 days. You're certainly not going to lose 10 pounds of fat in 3 days, but you could lose 10 pounds on the scale. But what does that really mean? And is that really what you should be shooting for? And I would say probably not. But anyway, I hope this video helps. There's a little bit of truth with a lot of things you see on the internet, believe it or not. But I think what you have to do is kind of look at the details. What are they really saying? Okay. So, hope you enjoy the video.